it is I, the Nomad, coming to you once again from the wastelands of the internet. How are you doing? I see that you're in the chat today, Mr. Barkley. Welcome, welcome, welcome! And yes, I hope you enjoyed the start of the stream. It's a little bit early, but hopefully TC will join us and some other people will join us today. See how things go, how things are all tuned up. I hope that you can hear me well. All right. But we have news. We do indeed have news. And, well, it is what it is. So, let's go ahead and get started. Well, it depends on how you look at it, Matt. Welcome. How are you? I know that somebody has joined us. Let's take a quick gander. Welcome, Vash.
Hello, hello.
There you are. You have to speak up or people aren't going to be able to hear you, Vash.
I had a love letter from Discord recently.
Oh?
Yeah. Did you know that just being in a server that gets reported for certain things, they will, and it's not the rational things, but they will actually do a mass punishment of that server across the board, and even if you weren't really a prominent member. Did you know that?
Well, actually, I didn't know that, although I did suspect that after this morning, to be honest, because I was informed that Mitch was into somebody else's server and got banned. I guess that applies to you too. So hence the reason you weren't responding to me when I said good morning to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was like they were like, you can't message until the 12th, and I'm like, okay. Then I just have a bunch of other people DMing me, and I'm like, so this is just because I joined a server and I was there?
Well,
like, I didn't even do anything.
If you stopped joining the porn server Naughty and Nice, well, then you wouldn't have that problem, would you?
Well, weirdly enough, this one was like a semi-political server. Like, I would kind of understand for that one. Okay, you called me a pervert and you hit me with a bong stick. Got it. Like,
I was obviously joking. So, but welcome anyway.
mm-hmm.
Since you are here, all right, I will do some things for you. It looks like Ronin was hit as well. So let me get back to what I was actually doing here. Let me share my screen.
Yes.
Which one do I want? I want this one. Okay. There you go. So now you can see the stories that are coming up in real time, rather than having to wait. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, as much as I can. I just, came by just to say that. So I won't be able to message you back for like 2 days.
Well, that's okay.
But I'll stick around for a couple of articles.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Let's see. We'll remove TC from here. We'll look for you. Where's Vash? I know you're on here. Just a matter of finding you. There you are. Boom. Alrighty. We'll start with Karen Bass, LA's most hated woman. I don't think she's the most hated woman. She's climbed up there a few steps. The Los Angeles fire chief has blasted the city's mayor, Karen Bass, for failing the fire crews and communities devastated by the ongoing wildfires. All right, these are not wildfires. All right,
these are intentional.
Yeah, these are arson. This is arson, folks. I want you to understand this. This is Eureka Field State University. This is arson. Okay. Fire Chief Kirsten Crowley took aim at the city's leadership during an interview with KTTV on Friday, admitting that it failed those affected by the fires and prevented the LA Fire Department from effectively doing its job. Okay, let's talk about this for a moment. Now, I don't have the audio of the question when she was asked that. The reporter basically went nuts. I say went nuts because she just kept repeating, did the city fail you? Did the city fail you? Did the city fail you? Looking for the soundbite. This is what reporters, this is what scum does. I'm not saying she's wrong. The reporterette or reporter, the female reporter, I'm not saying she was wrong. But you asked the question to her repeatedly to try and get the answer, to try and get you the gotcha. You know what I mean? And I don't like that kind of bullying tactic.
Well, I mean, I've used that only whenever people try and filibust me or they just try and, like, deviate from it.
Well, it depends on the situation, I'll be honest with you. In this case, it's a question if she could say, do you feel that that they've done, that the city has failed or not? Okay. Now let's be perfectly frank.
And then you could turn around and be like, do you think that they were doing their best?
Right. Well,
do you why do you think that, what could they have done better? Like, you could rephrase your question and get different answers.
Well, the problem begins with Karen Bass and the rest of these idiots done, right? Because this fire chief is as much, if not more, responsible than the mayor. Now, the mayor did cut the budget, okay, by 20-something percent. Okay, she is a woke mayor. She wants to pay for all these little, social engineering goodies. Okay, and she majorly cut the fire budget. But cutting the fire budget isn't what's caused this. Okay, don't get me wrong, it's not helping the matters, right? But the lack of budget in the fire department would not have, if they would have given them the extra $17 million, would it have fixed any of this? Honestly, Vash.
No, because most of this is being a coordinated attack to distract from something. This is actually one of the few times that the smokescreen hasn't completely covered up their bullshit.
Well, we'll get to some of that stuff too. But the fact is.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead.
Oh no, you didn't jump in there. That's perfectly acceptable. I wasn't saying that. I'm just pointing out to the folks, and we'll be getting into some of that as well. All right, letting them presaging the incident. But the one thing that I think that you have to take a look at with this, all right, is the fact that, okay, first of all, the top 3 fire people, which are making between $250,000 to $500,000 a year, okay, each, is now going to be funded, according to Biden, by the federal government, right? Now, when Trump gets in there and stops it, one of the first things he should point out is, I'm not paying the salaries of these people. And that's what Biden was trying to do with your money. These failed, clowns. The top 3 people in the LA Fire Department, okay, are all about diversity. And when one of the women was asked, when her deputy was asked, well, what about carrying my husband out? The response by that woman was, well, he shouldn't have got himself in that. If I've got to carry him out, he shouldn't have gotten himself in that position to begin with. Okay.
Sue
Yes.
that. Sue that. Sue that bitch into oblivion.
All right. So you can see now what their priorities were. Their priorities were not firefighting. Okay. It wasn't on fighting the fire. It was on diversity. We're gonna get some diversity quotas in here. We're gonna get more lesbians, and I'm a proud LGBTQ, and the top 3 people are now lesbians, and they are all right, and so now we rule, and the city burns. Okay,
Oh, dude.
now like I
I
said, they
find it.
go ahead.
I find it odd that
Fascist
the
died. Rest in peace.
mainstream. Yeah, I'm getting a drink of water. But I find it odd that the mainstream has somehow began to idolize people that want to see you, like viewers. These people want to see you dead. These people hate you. And I'm talking about people that are in the beautiful state of Kansas, Missouri. I mean, hell, we'll throw in Arizona too, because it's closer to the central. They hate you. Stop idolizing them.
Yeah. If you want
Stop
to, if
looking up to them. Stop putting them into these positions because that's our fault.
oh no, that's 100% true. You're 100% accurate with that. If you voted for this, all right, you put these people in there. All right, if you're doing it because okay, well, I want to do it for DEI sake. I'm going to prove the Chud's wrong. I'm going to prove that woke works. Well, you're not seeing it now. It's not just there though. The LA Times reports major Pacific Palisades Reservoir was offline and empty when the fires broke out. Now I want you to
Oh, what a coincidence.
now I want you to remember, okay? You remember July? You remember how Los Angeles in this area was flooded? Can you tell me how this supposed this reservoir got emptied from so much water that the reservoirs were flooding?
It's almost like MC. It's almost like they use the water in the reservoir to flood and now they're out of it.
Okay, so 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 staff reporter Matt Hamilton spoke to local officials who told the Times that the Santa Ynez Reservoir had been closed for repairs, all right, to its cover, all right, leaving the 117 million gallon storage complex empty in the heart of the Palisades. And revelation comes among growing questions about why firefighters ran out of water while battling the blaze. Numerous fire hydrants in the higher elevation streets of the Palisades went dry, leaving firefighters struggling with low water pressure as they combated the flames. Actually, they just sat back and watched. When they ran out of water, all right, and the water pressure was out, there was nothing they could do. Like there are pictures of firefighters literally taking a woman's handbag to try and put out another fire that some dumbass had set, right? As people were running around. And then they go, well, no water in the fire hydrants, no money for in FEMA, all right? This is what Joe Biden is leaving me? Thanks, Joe.
Well, I mean, what I would have
Is what
done
Trump Senator
had
Joe
I
said
been
on
a firefighter at that time You take a snowblower, you take a bunch of people to shovel sand off the beach, and then you blow that sand at the fire.
All right, there's no reason why they shouldn't be using these fire tankers that they use for wildfires from going into the ocean, grabbing the water and dumping it in on top of these things and putting them out quickly like this. When it gets to be this large, you just warn people we're going to do whatever it takes to put these fires out, and that means we're going to drop tons of water on this. There's going to be water damage to
Exactly. Like,
houses and things like that, and you just let people know, look, it's the only way to put this out. I understand that people get upset, but it's the only way to put it out. And no one asked why they're not doing it, and the fires are still raging.
well, I mean, see, whatever happened, like I'm gonna I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant before I leave, but uh MC, whatever happened to that that firefighter that would get the cat out of the tree, that ace detective that was always on the case and just could not let go of that bone.
Well,
And the
I'll be showing you
fucking
what the Ace detectives are doing a little bit later.
oh well, yeah, but like the all of these different types of people that used to be a thing where they were dedicated to their job so much so that their idea of time off was sitting in a bar looking at their fucking whiskey and thinking about their goddamn job. Like, you know, those people would have got in there, they would have got shit done. The people that I'm talking about were the people that were around like generation the golden age, I guess.
The ones that turn the kids
But
into the boomers.
well, I mean, what the fuck raised those guys? We need that.
Well, you want to know what's raised them? It's fires like this. Meanwhile, good old Zuckerberg is in trouble. Brazil gives Meta, okay, Facebook, 72 hours to explain the new fact check policies. Really?
In his in in his response, I'm sorry.
Brazil on Friday gave social media giants Meta 72 hours to explain what its fact checking policy will be for the country and how it plans to protect fundamental rights on its platform. What fundamental rights? Don't you love words like fundamental rights? What exactly are you referring to? And how are those rights being protected? Okay?
Yeah, like
The fundamental
this
right of
person.
freedom of speech is one thing, right? What other fundamental right do you have?
Freedom of assembly.
All right. Um, not in Brazil, you know. All right. Let's be perfectly frank. What this is this is the government saying we had deals with you to go after these people, and you're going to break them now. When we tell you that this person's being bad, you'd better respond to us. That's what they're saying. You'd better censor as we see fit. The idea is that see, this is the thing that gets me is you remember a few years ago when they were all complaining about how these social media places were being used to synchronize uh, attacks and things like that they were organizing on social media, right, for robbery gangs, you know, when they go into a store and all this other nonsense, right?
Yeah.
If they were doing that and that was really going on, it's being done in a public forum where everyone can see it. It's not a
Hmm.
threat to society as a whole. You understand this? Does it allow for ease of
I
communication?
mean,
Yeah, it does allow for ease of communication between in these kinds of setup. But at the same time, since it's being done in the open, once the authorities understand that, they can easily track that kind of activity, and I mean easily. If you can quickly sit up there and ban somebody because they said that, you know, the COVID vaccine doesn't work. If they said that, and I'm not saying that right now, okay, I'm not making that claim whatsoever, okay. Obviously, the CDC has said that the COVID vaccine works well for everybody, all right. But if they did something like that, and they can ban people with an algorithm, lickety split, you're gonna
oh
tell me
yeah, they do that.
you can't have an algorithm that sits up there and goes, wait a minute, we're seeing this activity build, so let's warn in real time.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I find really odd is they already have that formula. You know, just looking at the fact that, for example, through my situation, I could get banned for fucking joining a random Discord server.
Right. They would be able to easily track who those people are. They'd be able to sit up there and then identify who it is that they were DMing, right? They'd have all their messages, and they could put these people in jail, but in mass arrests, and it wouldn't take much. Just a couple of announced mass arrests, people will stop doing that because they'll see it as a platform. No, we can't do it this way because we'll get mass arrested. It's just dumb. It was dumb then to sit up there and complain about that, and then to try and say, well, that's our justification, because that's what they use as their justification for basically censoring people, kicking people off. Well, we can't let them sit up there and organize. Well, who are you to say who should be organizing when and where? All of a sudden, now you're on a slippery slope. Time to be controversial, though, Bash. Time to be controversial. Gays allowed in seminary, but chastity essential. CEI. Non-practicing homosexuals can train to be priests. Gay men will be allowed
No,
into Roman Catholic
Satan is in the church.
Gay men will be allowed into Roman Catholic seminaries to train to be priests, but they must observe celibacy according to Catholic doctrine that holds that non-practicing homosexuals are not sinners. The Italian Bishops' Conference, the CEI, all right, said in new guidelines Friday. To be admitted to the seminary, one must show from the beginning an orientation toward a celibate life. Okay, now I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say something really specific. Okay, there's no such thing as a celibate gay man. Okay, there's no such thing as a celibate heterosexual. Okay, it's like saying, you know what? That guy out there is a non-practicing carpenter. Well, has he ever worked with wood? No, he's never worked with wood. Well, then how the hell do you know he's a carpenter? It's like saying I'm a freaking non-practicing freaking astronaut. The idea that somehow you are quote unquote born any which way belies the fact that you have a brain and you can make choices in your life. Rant over. You can disagree with me if you want.
Oh, sorry, something dropped. There, should be better.
Right? What defines a person as a homosexual or not as a homosexual is what they do. Not what they say. Okay? What they do. Although what they say is something that they're doing. What?
Speaking of,
You're talking about the next story?
yeah.
Meanwhile, you wonder what the cops are doing? Here's what the cops are doing. A Florida cop was watching pornography on his phone when he slammed his patrol car into a vehicle stopped ahead of him. According to an internal affairs report, the accused deputy accused the deputy of initially lying about the accident. A 1:45 p.m. crash occurred 2 months ago at the Lake County intersection and prompted the cop to resign his post in midst of an Office of Professional Standards review. Tristan McComber, 28, initially offered various explanations for his distracted driving. He claims to have been on the phone with another officer at the time of the crash and contended that the squad car had mechanical issues. He would go on to claim that he had been exchanging texts with fellow officers. Let's just dig a little deeper. Reviewed dash cam and body-worn footage that contradicted the deputy's story. The video recorded the cruiser's steering wheel airbag deployed and McComber telling the 63-year-old female motorist whose Toyota Corolla he hit, "My brakes locked up." If your brakes locked up, don't you stop?
He was a gainer.
Am I missing something? How would you hit somebody if your brakes locked up?
Like, why are you driving and doing that?
I suspect that they were okay. These people do stupid things all the time. Okay, people in the government. That's what I mean. Okay, and they are human beings who do stupid things like, oh, I'm going to text this gross thing to you, and you text this gross thing to me. There are people that engage in this kind of activity. I've never understood it. Okay, I have literally never understood that, but I know that there were people that did it. Okay, and I know a few of them that did it, and it's like, what is wrong with you people? You were seriously wrong. Well, look how gross this is. Why do I want to look at something else how gross it is? It's just horrible.
Well, I mean,
right? And
yeah.
the same thing, and I can see the same thing with somebody throwing an issue. What about this chick? Or what about this guy? You know, look how he's hung. Look at her titties, right? And then going back and forth, going, oh, look at all this stuff, right? Speaking of titties. There we go. Little gratuitous thing. That's how this happens. But now, does this guy should he be a cop? No, he shouldn't be a cop. Then again, when you get people like this, woman mistakenly texts a cop, not the dealer. Before heading off to a drug rehab on New Year's Eve, Octavia Wells allegedly decided to score some narcotics for the road. So the 41-year-old Floridian texted her dealer that she had $45 to spend and wanted to buy a couple of points of fentanyl, which is drug speak for 1/10 of a gram increments of narcotics. All right. In her text, Wells identified herself as Octavia and arranged the drug transaction. After Wells, seen it to right, she looks like she's high right here. Okay, I'm just pointing that out. All right, drove to meet her dealer at the Tom Thumb convenience store in Panama City. She was arrested and confronted by police. It was then that she realized she had mistakenly contacted a cop, not a criminal. A future rocket scientist. Somehow I don't think so. my goodness. It looks like Bash has had to leave. Uh, maybe this was the person that was sending him back text messages. On to the next story. See, good news, Matt. You wonder my good news of the day? Here's a good one. Washington Post lays off 4% of its workforce. The Washington Post has started laying off roughly 4% of its workforce, the company said on Tuesday, as the newspaper struggled to stem millions of dollars in annual losses. The cuts will affect fewer than 100 people across the Post's business divisions, which include its advertising, sales, marketing, and information technology teams. They will not affect the Post's newsroom, which 2 years ago reduced its workforce by roughly 240 jobs through a voluntary buyout program. The cuts are part of a plan to adjust to changing business conditions. Need to bump up those numbers to 40%. Look, what you need to do is cut. You should have cut a long time ago your entire diversity staff. Okay? Should have walked in there and said, okay, who are the DEI hires? All right, who are the ones that these people recommended for the DEIs, and have fired every freaking one of those people. The people who basically were put in charge to do DEI, and the people who they subsequently hired under DEI protocols. And I'm not joking. When you're not looking for the best person for the job, when all you're doing is looking for a specific color or a specific, are you gay? If that's what you're looking for, you're not looking for the best person for the job. Well, but people discriminate. People discriminate all the time. All you're doing is trying to justify your own discrimination when you do that kind of stuff. What kind of nonsense is that? You know, it's the same kind of silly buggery that goes on, and these are the things that happen. It is what it is. You're not going to fix this stuff. You're not going to fix a business by looking for physical trait characteristics. You're not. Does that mean that diversity is there's no such thing as diversity? Diversity can't be helpful and depending upon the circumstances? No, it has nothing to do with that. But the idea that somehow I know you're gay by looking at you, I don't know you're gay by looking at you. So why would I care to put something like that on my, resume, or expect it anywhere within the resume things? I'm a proud member of the LGBTQ community. Now, as far as skin color goes, it is what it is. Are there going to be people who, how do I say this, use that skin color as a reason not to pick somebody over somebody else? Yes. That does happen. Okay? And those people eventually get a comeuppance, all right, because they're not hiring the best person for the job. That's just the reality. Good old Jackie Smith. Judge who blocked the release of Trump report was plainly wrong, special counsel tells an appeal court. The Justice Department, who asked the Federal Appeals Court to move swiftly in reversing a judge order that blocked the agency from releasing any part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigative report on President-elect Donald Trump. Right? The emergency motion filed late Friday is the latest back and forth in a court dispute over whether any portion of Smith's report can be made public before Trump takes office. The push to release it before Trump's inauguration reflects concerns that the Justice Department under the Trump administration, which will include members of his personal legal team in key leadership roles, would be in a position to prevent the report from coming to light. Yeah, they can. And you guys will just leak it. All right? Like you always do. All right? So that's a bunch of bull crap. Okay? His reasoning is BS. Because they know very well they have already leaked this report to several groups in the media. The department is hoping to release in the coming days one part of the 2-volume report focused on Trump's effort to undo the 2020 presidential election that he lost to Democrat Joe Biden. The department said it will not publicly disclose a separate volume about Trump's hoarding of classified documents in the Mar-a-Lago case. All right, here's the problem with it. First of all, the judge in this case, and she said she's just plain wrong. He knows he's wrong. He knows that who this guy is. All right. The Atlanta-based 11th Circuit Court of Appeals denied an emergency defense bid Thursday to block the release of the election interference report, which comes to undo the 2020 election. The appeals court left in place an injunction from the judge-appointed lower judge Eileen Cannon that said that the findings of the court could be released until 3 days after the matter was resolved by the appeals court. And there's literally where it's stuck in their craw. Here's the question. What advantage, from a legal perspective, is it? Why is it important to do this? So one of the questions that should be asked of this guy, why is it important to release it now? Well, it might get quashed. So what? From a legal perspective, why is it important? Are you accusing Trump of illegal shit already? That he's going to illegally withhold anything there? Isn't that what you're already accusing him of doing? And another thing about this case, and this is why she was able to do this. She tossed the case in Mar-a-Lago because she said this guy has no authority to do this. And that case is still winding through the court system. So until the 11th Circuit Court comes back and says, yes, this guy is a legitimate special counsel, until that's reauthorized, it throws out, and this includes the case in Chutkan's, in DC's version of things. That's why this whole thing is up in the air. And what's more is she was right to sit up there and also point out that you're trying to release a report while at the same time you're still holding other people and still continuing to prosecute other individuals, all right, who were associated with Trump on these same charges that were directly related to it. And see, so they're basically, saying that her calling her order plainly erroneous is nonsensical. Now, I'm going to be real blunt with you. I think a lot of this stuff is nonsensical, all right, in regards to the technicalities of things. But since we're dancing on heads of pins anyway, the reality is you're just trying to do this to destroy Trump's presidency. What's your reasoning for doing this if it isn't to destroy Trump's presidency? To interfere with Trump's presidency? Couldn't they? If you're reasoning, what's your reasoning here? And I would demand that if I was on the court, I'd demand, what's your reasoning for doing this right with Trump president? Well, he might stop it. What does that matter to you? What's your reasoning there? Well, is it so important? So are you trying to interfere with the incoming presidency? That's illegal. That's flat out illegal. Amazing what these people just don't understand. 45 Democrats join Republicans. Notice how they don't sit there and say in a bipartisan vote. Okay? When Democrats join Republicans, it's not bipartisan. Notice that? It's only bipartisan when a few frickin', sour Republicans join the Democrats. How come this isn't listed as a bipartisan vote? 45 Democrats in a bipartisan vote join Republicans to pass sanctions on the ICC, the International Criminal Court, over Netanyahu's arrest warrant. The House of Representatives passed a bill on Thursday to sanction the ICC over its issuing an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Excuse me. I almost said Menachem Begin. That was way back away. All right. The measure, sponsored by Representative Chip Roy from Texas, passed the House with a 243 to 140 vote, with 45 Democrats joining in support of the GOP-led bill. 30 Democrats and 20 Republicans did not vote, while one Republican voted present. And that was Massey. Okay, for those who don't know, that was Tom Massey. Right? Senate Majority Leader Tom Thune vowed to put the measure up for a vote soon in the Senate and would likely be signed into law by incoming President Donald Trump. Okay? Does this actually do anything? Actually, it does. Okay? For those who don't know what this will do, is the prosecutor and the courts that sit up there and issued this, their families now will face sanction and arrest if they ever come to the United States or fall into our custodial hands. Because this kind of nonsense, because the Israelis in a war are trying to defend themselves against Hamas, okay, this is the problem when you use terms like, it's a genocide! It's a genocide! What the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians is a genocide! People are dying. No shit, people are dying. It's called war. But it's not just, it's innocent civilians. Name one! Name one that was just an innocent civilian. Name one. Because he wasn't, or she wasn't just an innocent civilian. Now, could a baby be killed? Yeah. That's an innocent civilian, MC. That's an innocent civilian. No, man, don't you understand? No, it's not. No, it isn't. It's an unwilling human shield. And when there's wartime conditions and the people you supported join the war and you keep actively supporting the war, which the quote-unquote poor Palestinian people are doing by not getting rid of Hamas, the Palestinians can end this tomorrow if they just got rid of Hamas leaders, and they all know who they are, they all know where they are. Just pointing it out. And yet, the ICC, where you got to be, well, why are every single one of the people who support Hamas enlisted in this list as well? Why aren't all the freaking Palestinian leadership, why are they all not on the ICC court as well? Just asking questions. McDonald's sex for shift scandal as 700 staff and ex-workers take legal action. Fast food giant McDonald's has been rocked by fresh claims that young staff in the UK were subjected to sexual and other forms of harassment by restaurant managers. More than 700 current and ex-McDonald's staff are suing the firm over allegations bosses sexually abused them as teenagers. The burger giant has been hit by new claims just a year after the UK chief Alistair McCrow apologized over sordid allegations. The, the, the allegations include, all right, go away. The allegations include are for sex for shifts. In the comments today, McDonald's was accused of becoming a predator's paradise. More than a year ago, McDonald's vowed to tackle claims of sexual abuse and harassment, but the shocking behavior towards teenage staff allegedly continues. It's said that 700 current and former employers are now taking legal action against the burger giant, including accusations one manager offered a worker extra shifts for sex. So they were loving it. That's not Mr. Barkley. Ronald McDonald could not be reached. How much did that affect the value meal? You want to supersize that? Oh, goodness Lord. The jokes write themselves. There's also accusations of homophobia and racism. Right? Around 90% are 0-hour contracts and believe their positions makes them vulnerable. Okay, why do you say that is a McDonald's issue? Right? Yeah, your manager may be a creep. All right. These kind of things do not surprise me that they would take action, especially considering the fact that a lot of the quote unquote local managers are young people to begin with. Okay, who are more going to be more likely to abuse their position, whether you like it or not. They're more likely. I'm not saying that that older people won't abuse their position, but they're less likely to. Either way, how do you blame the corporation for that? Did the manager sit up there and go, okay, well, I'm a McDonald's manager, and they put a little freaking chip in their head, so they go, now go sexually harass your employees. Make sure that there's no gays working for you. That's what the chip says. Those terms don't even mean anything anymore. And unfortunately, it's true. But quid pro quo stuff is something that should have always been pointed out, and they should have actual criminal cases. But then again, they're looking for the person to sit up there and said, "I don't want immigration in my country," on a post somewhere. All right, because that's what the police in Britain do. Trump gets no penalty sentence in his hush money case while calling it despicable. Of course it's despicable. Okay? So basically they set up there, Judge Merchan came out and said, there are 34 felony cases that deserve zero punishment. Not a fine. Not a... Nothing but the charge. Not any jail time, not community service. So when people say that you just bumped this to a felony just so you could call him a felon for purely political reasons, how are you going to say that that's not the reason you did it? That it's a serious offense and that you needed to do something about it. Well, what did you do about it? Nothing. Literally nothing. It's obvious now to anybody and everybody, all right, that the Justice Department is radically broken. Especially in New York. Trump is a felon, says people who worship felons. That's very true. An ex-Green Beret behind a failed Venezuelan raid in 2020 lashes out at the CIA and the FBI. A former Green Beret accused of plotting an invasion of Venezuela in 2020 to overthrow Nicolas Maduro lashed out Friday at the CIA and FBI, claiming that they sabotaged his efforts to oust the leftist leader. His lawyers asserted that he had the Trump administration's support for the clandestine mission. Attorneys for Jordan Godreau, stated in court filings that for the first time that the decorated combat veteran had authority from the highest levels of the executive branch for an amphibious raid that ended up with several combatants killed and 2 of his special forces colleagues in Venezuelan prison. In the filing in the Tampa federal court, where Godreau is facing weapons smuggling charges, coincided with his reappearance Friday on social media, in which he claims that the skittish U.S. government emboldened Maduro. The video was published as Maduro was being sworn in for the 3rd time in office on Friday amid rebukes from the United States and others who believe he stole last year's election. I want to congratulate the CIA and the FBI on a job well done. Because of your efforts in Venezuela in 2020 to sabotage my executive branch directed operation, Nicolas Maduro gets sworn in today. Godreau flashing in a thumbs up sign in a short video on Instagram. Good job, fellas. Okay, first of all, I don't know what the truth of any of this stuff is. An operation to overthrow a CIA type style operation to overthrow Maduro is something that using these kind of mercenaries, it is something that these clowns would do. But it's also true that this idiot, how did he know that these people were CIA and FBI agents that were having him organize this? Because the reality is it could just as easily have been a Venezuelan counter espionage, or a counterintelligence type of operation, from Venezuela. When you start dealing with these clandestine things, the worst part is you don't know who's who. Just pointing this out. Now, should we have overthrown Maduro? Yeah, we should have. Louisiana Man stars in latest installment of FAFO. Screw around and find out. Adding insult or injury to insult, the Louisiana man was walloped in the face after he shouted racial slurs at a group of black victims and declared, "I hate N-words," according to the police report. Officers arrested Clint Ferguson, 51, following a confrontation Sunday night in a parking lot of the Shoe Show in Monroe, Louisiana. According to the victim, excuse me. According to the victims, who are black, they were sitting in their car when Ferguson pulled up next to them, exited his ride, and began shouting racial slurs at the driver. A probable cause statement alleged. After declaring, "I hate N-words," he returned to his car and tried to drive away. His path, however, was blocked by the driver, who had called 911 and told Ferguson, "You're going to wait for the police." Ferguson, cops allege, drove around the victim and ran over the victim's foot. The victim then punched Ferguson through the open driver window as Ferguson drove away. Seen above with a fresh shiner, Ferguson later returned to the parking lot, but refused police orders to exit his vehicle. 3 officers eventually pulled Ferguson from his vehicle and handcuffed him. He was charged with aggravated battery, a felony, and a misdemeanor hate crimes and resisting an officer. After Ferguson was treated in a local hospital for his eyes and nose where the victim hit him, he was he was booked into the county jail where he remains locked up in lieu of $500 or $50,000 bond. Okay. let me make some statements here. First of all, we'll put that back in. Just a second here. Hold on, just a moment here, folks. I gotta blow my nose. Hold on. Sun sneezing. Sun sneezing. I don't need to be doing that in front of everybody. All right. You're gonna have a hard time in this. Okay, and let me tell you why. First of all, some guy's calling you some kind of name, like some guy jumps out and calls you a bunch of names and then gets back in his car. You have no right to detain him. All right? You don't have that right. So the charge against him for aggravated battery, good luck. Now, I have a feeling that this guy is wanted on a lot of other things as well, so that I doubt that this is his only his only run in with the police per se. And as far as getting whacked in the head, all right, and a broken nose, I there's obviously something else going on with this. I don't think this is going to stick. Trust me. Now they're already trying to do what they can with the $50,000 bond. All right, but I have a feeling that there's more to this than we're hearing. Okay, we're not hearing the entire story. I don't think that this guy. I'm not saying it can't happen. All right, but you don't have the right to detain somebody when they're trying to drive. Just pointing that out there. Just like in this next case. This is interesting too. You may have heard of this one. Top draft prospect Kyren Lacy wanted by the cops for negligent homicide 2 days before he declared for the NFL. LSU receiver Kyren. Why would you name your kid Kyren? You want to name your kid Karen? Is that what you're trying to do? Get him in trouble? Lacy was tipped to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, is wanted by the police who say he was involved in a fatal car crash. Cops have issued an arrest warrant for the 24-year-old. They allege that his speeding on highway near Farouche Parish around 10 a.m. on December 17th caused an accident that killed Herman Hall, a 17-year-old former Marine, and injured 2 others. A statement from the Louisiana police, all right, following the crash, Lacy drove around the crash scene and fled on LA Highway 20 without stopping to render aid, call emergency services, or report his involvement in the crash. Investigation revealed that the crash occurred as his 2023 Dodge Charger was traveling south on LA Highway 20. The driver of the Dodge Charger, later identified as the 24-year-old Lacy of Thibodaux, all right, recklessly passed multiple vehicles at a high rate of speed by crossing the center lane and entering the northbound lane in a designated no passing zone. Lacy was illegally passing the other vehicles. The driver of the northbound pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to the right to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge. The traveling behind the pickup was a Kia Cadenza, whose driver then swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia Cadenza took evasive action to avoid the impact with the Dodge, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with the southbound Kia Sorento. The statement adds Lacy and his representatives have been in contact with law enforcement over turning himself in, and he is also wanted for felony hit and run and reckless operation of a vehicle, as well as negligent homicide. Okay, first of all, you can say that he was driving recklessly. if he didn't hit anybody, it's not a hit and run. Now, can you say that he's responsible for what happened? I agree. But you can't call it a hit and run when he didn't hit anybody. Now, do I think that this guy should face some charges like reckless driving and you could say negligent homicide added to that? I think the negligent homicide, I think in this case, to be honest, it's a case where in a civilian court, you can say that his responsibility is there. In a criminal court, I think that you're running a risk there. Okay, I really think that you're running a risk criminally. I'm not saying I don't know the law, the specifics of the law well enough to sit up there and say whether or not you can actually charge him with that. All right, because it might say something like performed an action which led to this crash. Okay. Now, a couple of things probably happened with this. Okay, and this is from the way they describe this horrific accident and this tragedy. Right. First of all, it was obviously his speeding and trying to get around people. All right, and not doing it safely. An unsafe lane change. Okay. But there's also another aspect in this, which is, all right, the truck swerved to the right to avoid the collision. The question then comes down to why did the Kia Cadenza not go right to avoid the collision? People panic. Okay. I'm not going to deny that people panic, but it leads me to think that it's very possible that the Cadenza was following too closely behind the pickup truck. So when the pickup truck swerved out of the way, the reason he didn't swerve the same direction was he thought he saw the pickup truck hit its brakes and it was trying to avoid the pickup truck. They were watching porn. I'm just pointing these things out. All right, that's what could have happened. Now, like I said, should this guy be charged? Yeah. Are they overcharging him? Probably. Just putting it out there. Now, his career is in jeopardy. That's a reality. His career is now in jeopardy. Should he go to jail over something like this? Young men driving fast on roads, making bad decisions, happens all the time. Most of the time, you get away with it. Okay, because there's no one's affected. In this case, the results are a tragedy. Does he deserve jail time? That's not for me to say. Not for me to say. Now, did this guy do things to make his life worse? Yes. Not stopping, not sitting up there trying to call 911 to try and aid things and then driving off. That was dumb, dude. That was dumb, especially if you circled around to see what happened. I have a feeling, however, the reason he drove off was some other reason. That's just pointing that out. 2 stories left. First story, Belgium Food Safety Authority. Do not eat Christmas trees. The Belgium Food Safety Agency issued a warning to residents not to turn their Christmas tree into food after a city's recycling recommendations, including using the needles in recipes. Hold on, let me write this down. The Federal Agency for the Safety of the Food Chain made the statement in a response to the city of Ghent, all right, recommending cooking the conifer needles in its list of ways to recycle Christmas trees. So one federal group, so one agency in their federal government is saying, eat the tree. And another one says, don't eat frickin' Christmas trees. The FASFC responded by warning residents that Christmas trees are not meant to end up in the food chain. The agency explained that trees grown for Christmas decorations are most often treated with pesticides and other potentially dangerous chemicals. What's more, there's no easy way for consumers to tell if their Christmas trees have been treated with flame retardant, and not knowing that could have serious, even fatal consequences. Oh my God. Why would you even attempt to tell people to eat a Christmas tree? What the hell's wrong with you? Oh my goodness. You gotta wonder about people sometimes. You really do. Final story. What about the plastic ones? Matt, I don't think we need to worry about the plastic ones. Police in Scotland said 2 lynx cats have been spotted on the loose in an area where 2 other felines of the species were rounded up one day earlier. Authorities captured 2 Eurasian lynx in the Carnomes National Park near whatever that is. I cannot pronounce your British names either. All right, on Thursday, investigators said they suspect the animals were illegally set free intentionally. The lynx were turned over to the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland's Highland Wildlife Park for care. Police Scotland said 2 more lynx were spotted in the area Friday morning. Members of the public are asked not to approach the animals for their own safety and for the safety of the lynx. Officers are working with specially trained personnel to capture them safely and humanely. The Eurasian lynx, the largest species of lynx, were once native to Scotland but died out from 500 to 1,000 years ago. They were found elsewhere in Europe, Asia, and Russia. Investigation into the origin of the Scotland lynx is ongoing. Well, lynxes are cool, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. Lynx are cool, all right? They're one of the more beautiful cats, actually, of the larger types of cats. If they're native to that area, it was just a reintroducing program. They're just trying to reintroduce the animal. I wish I could have a pet lynx. They are wild creatures. They are fairly large. They can hurt you. They can't kill you. Well, they shouldn't be able to kill you unless there's some freak incident with that. I will say that, however, like all these species in the wild, they can carry rabies. But considering that these things are native to this area, 500 years ago they were found all over the area. Well, let them back in. Let them back in. Free the lynx. Free the lynx. That's all I've got to say about that. Okay, everybody, I appreciate y'all coming out. Hope that y'all have a good day. Thanks for coming, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye, everybody.